Welcome back to the I Speak Korean Pretty Well podcast. I'm John, and today I'm going to explain to you why, if you're a beginner in Korean, one of the absolute most best shows that you can just have on in the background at all times is Pokemon. I'm going to tell you all the reasons. I'm going to give you a little story about how I found this out or why I believe this. But basically, let me just give you the answers out in front so you know where I'm coming from. The reason why this is such a good show, and let's just make sure we're all on the same page. If you're trying to master a language, let's get that back up here. If you're trying to master a language, right, the language that you're learning, the natural version of it, content for people who speak that language already, so it'd be like Korean content for Koreans, Japanese content for Japanese people, we should be listening and watching that content all the time, getting as much of the visual audio language as much as possible, right? So to have something on in the background, for example, right? Whether you're in your office or whether you're in your room, whether you're in your apartment, whether you're in walking, maybe you're just putting it in your AirPods, as you're going down the street to get some groceries, you should be listening passively to the language as much as possible, right? But here's why I think Pokemon, and I'll give you the quick summary, is like the best show to have on in the background. I'm going to tell you all about it, but I'll give you the quick reason for it. One, the quick reasons. Here's the quick bullets. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you don't have to. One, everyone knows the story, so there's an insane amount of context. So even if you've never seen Pokemon before, when you don't have subtitles, it's really easy to understand what's going on because everyone knows the story of Pokemon. Two, each episode, nothing changes. The story arc from episode to episode is basically the same. Three, you could watch it in any language. Like right now, I'm in New York, but I'm watching it in Korean because I have my NordVPN turned on to South Korea, so I'm getting it in Korean. If you want to hear it in Japanese, you would just put on the Japanese VPN. If you're interested in the VPN, check the link below. I have an affiliate link. You get a discount. I get commission. That helps build this channel. And I have a whole video on why VPNs are so good and why I've been using it for over like 8 years now. But that's another one. You can watch it in any language. So anyone learning any language can use it. The fifth reason, there are so many versions of Pokemon, right? There's not just like one Pokemon original. There are just millions now, so it's endless. It's an endless amount of content. 6, I don't even know if I'm numbering these correctly. You'll be able to avoid spoilers. That's gonna have to be a detailed explanation, and it's perfect for beginners. Here's why. It's like kid language, so to speak, but it's natural. Like any Japanese person would understand it. I'm sorry, I'm learning Japanese, so that's why I'm thinking that. Any Korean person watching Pokemon, right, at the age of like a 3rd grade, 4th grade should be able to understand it. But what's crazy is that because there's so many different Pokemon names and also attacks and moves, your ears are just constantly getting trained to different pronunciations. So that's really also like a really powerful thing. And then, yes, those are the reasons. Now let me go into each reason individually. I got my coffee here as usual. I'd love to like make a mug that says like I speak Korean pretty well and then like sell it to you guys. Would that be something you would all be interested in? Kind of hype yourself up like, yeah, I speak Korean pretty well. Especially for the people who kind of are shy about it. Like, yeah, I speak Korean pretty well. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying that? Okay. So let me give you the story about why I think that this 피카츄도 수고했어. About 2 to like 3-ish years ago, I started learning Japanese, and on my main Korean channel where I teach Korean people how to acquire languages, it's like this channel, but it's in Korean. I made like videos about, I'm going to start doing Japanese. Now, the thing is, it was never my number one priority. Korean, when I started learning Korean, was my number one priority, and I went all in, like obsessively, 5 hours a day for like 3 years straight. But Japanese wasn't like that, but it wasn't high on the priority list, but I was, when I first started making those videos, I was excited to, so I was immersing, watching a bunch of shows with no subtitles because that's really what you have to do as a beginner, especially when you don't live in the country. And so I was looking for a bunch of content and I came across Pokemon, right? Like obviously, Pokemon, Japanese, it's like perfect, right? So I would watch it, but then the issue is like I got around episode 15 or so, and I got really bored really quickly. And not because it's like a kid show, so to speak. I love like kid shows, they're adorable, they're cute. But the issue with Pokemon specifically for me was that around like the 15th or 16th episode, every single episode, and this is reason one of why it's so good to have on in the background opposed to watching it, is because every single episode was just the same story arc, right? It was so predictable. So it became incredibly boring, right? Even though like the language is like a lot of fun to listen to, it would just be like, Ash goes out to fight to go to some city, meets new people in that city, fights the same Pokemon, loses the first time. Then, Team Rocket comes in, tries to steal Pikachu. Then they learn a lesson, and then they fight again at the end, and then they beat the trainer for that gym or the person in that town. And every single episode, this was happening. Go to a new town, meet the new people, lose to their Pokemon, realize he's got to train. Team Rocket comes in, tries to steal Pikachu. Then boom, they go and he learns a lesson. It was the exact same thing over and over and over again. So that became incredibly boring, right? Because in order to immerse in a language, you need to be captivated by the content. Even if you don't understand it, like even if you're a straight beginner and you're going from day one, no subtitles, which is what I suggest, the visual should be captivating. The story, what's going on, should be captivating. And it was until I realized, oh, it's the same thing again. And then I got bored of it, right? So that's when I stopped watching it in Japanese. Now, again, this right here behind me is in Korean, and this channel mainly is people probably trying to learn Korean. So you can watch it in Korean. And if it's not boring for you, watch it as content. But I realized, like, this was like maybe a couple months ago, and I haven't been learning Japanese consistently, right? Right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm training to become a professional pickleball player, and I have a whole YouTube channel based on that. But for the past year, I've been really obsessed with pickleball, so it's been hard for me to find time to put into Japanese, right? And so, but I always want to be listening to stuff in the background, and when I can, put something visually stimulating on in the background. So that 2 minutes when you're walking past your TV and you're sipping coffee, you sit there and you're watching it for like 2 minutes. These minutes add up so much. Like if you're in an office or if you're maybe like a college student in your what is that called? Kisuksa. I can't think of the word for kisuksa. What is that called? Not apartment. A dorm. And you're in your dorm. And like, those little minutes here and there that basically, like, you'll check your phone for 2 minutes, right? Well, if you have a TV or a laptop and you just have some shows running, those 30 seconds here, a minute and a half here will grab your attention. And that minute of like focused watching and listening is so powerful. And so one day when I was just trying to, get more Japanese into my life because it's not a priority. If it was a number one priority for me, I'd be a master by now. I'd be doing like 5 hours a day. But I was like, I don't know what to put on, because this was the issue. If I put on something that actually interested me, like let's call it like a drama that I was interested in, that I like potentially would watch, well, I wouldn't want to turn that on because then I'm going to get spoiled. Like the content's going to get spoiled. I'm going to know later on when I do decide to actually sit down and like spend time on it, I'm already going to know what's happened. So I didn't want that. And one of the really fun things for me specifically is what I like to do. I'm doing this for Japanese now, and if you're a beginner, let's get Pikachu back up there. If you're a beginner, you should be doing this. Should be your routine, right? And this could work at any level. I still do this in Korean. Like, my Korean's pretty advanced now, but I still do this. Watch a show or a movie or a YouTube video in Korean. Then when you're going throughout your day, whether you go to the gym, whether you go to the store, you're walking to meet your friends, you're driving to meet a colleague, whatever your thing is, you should have the show that you were watching on as the audio that you're listening to. So opposed to listening to a podcast, opposed to listening to music. If I watch this episode of Pokemon in Korean right here, then and it's like a 20-minute episode, no subtitles, just watching it to learn. Right? That's because that is how you learn. When I go play pickleball on my way there, I should be listening to this episode like on my Netflix app, like in my AirPods, right? That's like such amazing content to listen to. And I'll make a video if you're interested on that. I'll just make that video. I will make that episode. I'll create an episode about why that's so powerful. But the thing about that is that since I like to do that, for example, right now in Japanese, I'm listening to My Hero Academy, right? I don't like to lose track of what I've listened to. So I've seen 5 seasons of My Hero Academy with no subtitles. And I just recently started listening to it from episode 1 because I have all the visual context and the storyline in my head. Now I'm listening to it from episode 1. And so every day I'm trying to get like 3 episodes in. So I'm listening, right? 3 episodes, about an hour. So I'm trying to do recently as of recording this video right now. Check the date for when this video was posted so you have a reference. But I don't want to put My Hero Academy on in the background here because, when I walk out of this room, when I'm doing things, it'll keep playing and then we'll have lost track. I'll have lost track of where I was. So now when I go, out to the store, I don't know which episode I was listening to and I have to find it and that now I've lost the storyline. So I like to, when I'm listening to stuff out and about, I do like to just go from like episode 1 all the way to the end, like an audiobook basically, but it's a show. So that was a problem because I have a bunch of stuff that I've already seen with no subtitles, but I don't want to listen to it on like the TV just playing because then I'm losing track of where I actually have to listen to it, like when I want to get my listening in, like my input for the day. But I came across Pokemon. I was like, wait a minute. I remember Pokemon was so annoying because each episode was exactly the same. And that's why I stopped watching it like as my focused watching time because every episode is the same. I knew it was going to happen. Whoa, wait a minute. What if I put Pokemon on in the background? Because then, no matter what episode it is, my brain already knows what's going on, right? Contextually, it's the same thing every day. So that's good because when you listen to new stuff, two issues, it gets spoiled. So you might not want to watch it then in the future because actually like you've already seen this stuff. And then 2, you lose context really easily. So it's actually hard to understand even though it's in passing. Like you're not trying to understand it, but it's nice when you're just, sit down for 2 seconds, sipping coffee and you like watch a scene. It's really hard to see what's going on in a lot of shows if you're a beginner because there's no context. Had you watched from the beginning, sure, you would have the context. But it's like, that's a really difficult thing. Watching new stuff is annoying, and then watching the stuff that you want to have as your passive listening stuff is also annoying. So instead, you just put on Pokemon because every single episode is exactly the same. So the context is always going to be the same. They're always going to be in a Pokemon battle. They're always going to be either defending themselves against Team Rocket or, going to a new city. And you get hooked for like that 30, 40, 60 seconds and you're watching and you pick up language that, relatively speaking, is, slice of life language, right? This is not like difficult language. These are everyday phrases. It's meant for kids to begin with, meant for natives, right? To begin with. So it's great content because it's meant for natives. But I would put this on and like, I realized, oh my God, this is so powerful because one episode, let's call it Pokemon, Blue Moon, Crystal, whatever the names, I don't even know the names. There's like 200 episodes. So you click play and then for the next few weeks, that's just on in the background. You're getting little bits of, phrases here. It's high audio quality. It's a high quality audio. The visuals are super stimulating. So when you do get hooked for that 30 seconds, you end up focusing. You're not worried about spoiling what's going to happen just because it's Pokemon. It's the same thing all the time. And there is like millions of different seasons, right? There's like got to be over 30 different, 30 different Pokemons. And so within those, there's hundreds of episodes. So it's such a great show, visual audio, to have on in the background, whether you're in your office, whether you're in your dorm, whether you're in your room, whatever the place that you like maybe do work at, whatever the thing is, it's so great to have on in the background as like that visual that might catch you for like 30 seconds here and there that eventually adds up. And so one last thing about why it's so great is because it's Pokemon, they have all these different characters, all different names, all different Pokemon types, all different weird like attacks. So there are very specific words that you'll never see in other places. And some people think, oh, well, that doesn't happen, and you won't hear that in daily Korean. Well, you're wrong, because anytime, first of all, let's pause here. Anytime someone tells you, well, you shouldn't watch that show because that's not, common Korean, that people don't talk like that in real life. It's like, well, whatever show I'm watching was made by natives for natives. So anyone who is watching that is part of their daily life. So, and if I'm watching something because I'm interested in it, if I'm watching some sort of content, it is part of my daily life. So what do you mean it's not part of daily Korean? This is part of my daily Korean, right? Understanding also always comes more over, output. Input's always king over output. So when people say stuff, for example, like you'll hear people say stuff like, if you watch 사극, right, which is the old Korean, not old, but Korean dramas that period pieces, right, that take place in like historic Korea. My English is terrible. They'll say, oh, people don't talk like that in real life. So that's not really daily Korean. It's like, well, I literally watched the show because I'm interested in the show. And so that is daily Korean. People don't understand that. They think that like every time you're watching something, the goal is to specifically use that in a conversation to like, it's like, no. If I want to, for example, there's a great show called Kingdom, and it's like a zombie show that takes place in like, let's call it the 1600s of South Korea, right? So they talk in that weird made up language, not language, but like that weird Korean speak. It's like old timey Korean, and it's like a zombie show. This is one of the best shows ever. Like I'm not a huge fan of zombie stuff, but this is like one of the best dramas in Korea ever. I love it. And I can only talk about Kingdom, it's called Kingdom, with other people who have seen Kingdom if I've watched it. So if I haven't watched Kingdom, I can't talk about Kingdom with people who want to talk about Kingdom. It's that simple. It's just like people who are watching Game of Thrones, right? Think about how impactful Game of Thrones was to like, American culture. If you never saw, they don't speak the way Americans speak, right? People in Game of Thrones don't speak the way the Americans speak. It's like old-timey English, which is kind of just like British English and then like some like weird accent. If you've never seen that, you can't talk about it with people who've seen it. It's that simple. So it is part of daily English. So when people say, oh, that's not part of like Korean, that's not really like real Korean. If it was made by natives for natives, then yes, it is. And for example, like Pokemon is made in so many different languages, right? Anytime an animation like this, let's say it's dubbed by natives for natives, it's good. It counts, right? And like this right here, it's Korean.
이번엔 파울이랑 망나뇽이야.
So this is, Korea was like, okay, this is a show that we're going to make now for our audience. They're going to use the visuals. They're going to probably take the script and adjust it a little bit and make it natural for younger, right? Maybe like elementary school students in Korea. The target audience are Koreans. So anytime, and like, for example, Pokemon, right? Oh, people don't talk about Pokemon in real life. It's like, well, then you're not part of that world, because there are people that talk about it, and this is whole people's lives. So anytime like you're questioning like, oh, I shouldn't watch this show because it doesn't have natural Korean, just think, did Koreans make it for other Koreans? Then it's 100% natural. It's good. Because just like Kingdom, if you want to talk about Kingdom with a Korean and you want to share that experience, you had to have watched it, right? You had to have watched it. So ignore people who think that like, oh, that's not daily Korean. If you hear people saying that's not daily Korean, or is daily Korean the right word? Everyday Korean. There you go. That's not everyday Korean. They're wrong. They're wrong. Because if I'm watching this is my everyday Korean. So what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, That's why it's also so good, because you get so many different weird pronunciations that will train your ear to hearing Korean sounds more closely. And yeah, so like I said, and also a really big thing here is that I said this earlier in the episode, if you're not in Korea, right? When you go to click watch Pokemon on Netflix, for example, you won't see Korean as a language that's available. And that's because you're not using a VPN. I have a whole video explaining what a VPN is and why I use NordVPN. I'm using it right now to have this playing. I'm here in New York, but this is in Korean because I have my VPN on. So at the end of this video, I will show you that video. You'll be able to click on it. But basically, it's simple. And the link in this video in the bottom too also has the VPN affiliate link that I have. So, but it's simple, and I'll explain it in like 2 seconds. Excuse me. A VPN just basically tells your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your TV, your smart TV, whatever. It basically changes your location so that if you choose on your VPN, like, oh, I can even show you. So right here, I've clicked South Korea. So my Apple TV knows that I'm in South Korea. So that because of that, I just got logged out for some reason. But because of that, now that when I restart Netflix, it'll be in South Korea Netflix Korea, right? If I set it to Japan, it will be in Netflix Japan. My YouTube will be there. My Spotify will be there. All of my apps will now believe that they're in those countries, which is really cool because you get ads, you get in that language. It is like, if you're not in Korea and you're not using a VPN, I said this, I'll say this a million times. It's a sin to not use a VPN if you're not living in Korea as a Korean learner. So anyway, yeah, I hope that was helpful. And let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like me to go over on this channel. I'm excited to make more videos, and we have some great stuff coming. Yeah, so keep up the good work, one day at a time. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but start creating habits for putting Korean input into your day more and more often. Cool.